Hello and welcome to my series of exposés on the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. I'd like to take the opportunity once again to say thank you to all of you for your love and support as we go along this journey. And I hope that this video is also helpful to you. I put this video in, it's a little bit out of sequence from what I have been doing because the discourse given by Anthony Morris III, who is one of the governing body members at the recent 2021 annual meeting, was so extreme that I thought I would make a video about it. Anthony Morris III mocks Jehovah's Witnesses of generations long standing, like my family that has 4 generations or had 4 generations of Jehovah's Witnesses in the family. And he tries to depict those that believe that the end was so soon as somehow naive and also, as he said, not helpful. He gives an example, and I'd like to focus in on this. He gives an example that when he was in Rhode Island, that his family and his boys were there, and they went to an elderly Jehovah's Witnesses home, and this person said to his son that there was no way that he was going to finish college because the end was so close, and this affected the boys, probably because of the sincerity and the earnestness of the person relaying this information, that on the way home, Anthony Morris III says that his boys are concerned about this, and then he says that he told the boys that while they needed to keep on the watch, that, it could be even until the year 2020 before the end came. And he, as if it were, is joking about this and so forth. Now, the point is this, we'll just stop there. He tells us that was 40 years ago, okay? Now, the fact of the matter is that what Anthony Morris III is telling us is that he himself held dissenting and apostate views privately. You see, if Anthony Morris III had have ventilated those opinions to his congregation, if he had got on the platform and said that he, this is 40 years ago, thought that the end could take until 2020, I can assure you that he wouldn't be giving too many talks, and the elders would be looking at him with great suspicion. Now, this is very interesting because this is how Watchtower catches and kills their own. They bring people in and promise them that paradise is around the corner. Usually there is either an explicit date as to when the end is going to come, or implied that there is a certain sign that they're looking for that indicates that there is a compression of time that one can roughly gauge when the end is coming. Now, obedience to the organisation is gauged by our attitude towards this messaging. It's just unbelievable that Anthony Morris III, who is now on the all-powerful body of the all-powerful governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, not only harboured unacceptable attitudes about the policies of the then governing body, but was teaching it to his children. So what he was doing is he was teaching his children to stay Jehovah's Witnesses by ignoring the governing body. Now, I'm going to, as much as possible here tonight, read from certain magazines, the Watchtower and Awake, and other publications that will show you the dogmatic style in which Jehovah's Witnesses, its governing body, presented its ideas of when the end would come. Now, let me assure you, this wasn't a joke. This was real. Okay? I grew up in an era in which, and talking about 40 years ago, guess what? I was a teenager then, okay, 40 years ago. And I can absolutely assure you, as a active Jehovah's Witness in a very strong Jehovah's Witness family, that the end was nigh. Okay, anybody that said that they thought the end was going to be in the year 2020 would have been viewed at the least as spiritually weak or spiritually sick, and at worst, an apostate. And if you went and told people that, you would be in huge amounts of trouble. Now it's a big joke for Anthony Morris. Okay? Now, the second part that he brings out, which is, if that isn't bad enough, which shows the private messaging that he was telling his family. Okay, this righteous, hand-picked person, right, was teaching his children to disobey the teachings and the doctrines of Watchtower. But then Anthony Morris, this is beyond belief, reads out a letter from a faithful Jehovah's Witness person that indicate that generations of her family had hoped and believed that the end was coming, but each subsequent generation grew old and died, grew up, grew old and died, and here she was, I believe, 4 generations deep, and this person, who Anthony Morris cheerfully reads out, is in her 70s, holding the same views. There is not one scintilla of decency in Anthony Morris III to put his hand up and to say, we, the governing body, misled you, have lied to you and deceived you. No, the blame goes to the rank and file. He showcases in his address that generations of honest people have believed this lie. It has interfered with the very basic, elementary aspects of human existence. And to tell people of faith that there was only one way of worshipping God. He doesn't want you, and the present governing body cannot admit what lies in the pages of their own literature. Now, I know that there is people leaving the organisation today, and they will probably see this, and if they haven't already, are probably planning on throwing away all of their publications. I just say to you, please don't. Please don't. Because there's a life-saving message in those publications. Not what is implied, but what has been stated as fact and what Jehovah's Witnesses knew. It's easy to tell somebody that you're in a congregation and a certain elder said this, or you went to a certain convention and that was said, or this was said. But if you can show from their publications what they did say at a particular time, the impact is immense. Now, I'm going to go into my research, and one day I will do a video about the research material, what I've got, and how important this source material is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read for you from the Watchtowers and other publications. I'm going to read some snippets from just before 1975. And that is what Anthony Morris III is talking about. He's talking about that time period. So I'm going to pick a couple of articles in which Jehovah's Witnesses, in dogmatic style, tell people that the end is coming. So just bear with me as I pick a couple of. Now this one here. So if if you have a pen and paper at home, or would like to replay this so you can have a look at this. This is I'm reading from the Awake of October the 8th, 1973. So Awake, October the 8th, 1973, pardon me, pages 19. Now the theme of this is, and it has a diagram, and it's got 1914, start of foretold last days, and then there is these arrows with this big bold title that says one generation, and the other arrow on the other side says end of old order, start of God's new order. Now, today, Jehovah's Witnesses believe in overlapping generations. So no longer singular, it is overlapping generations. I'm just going to read from this article, page 19. It says here, I was reading the middle of the paragraph. Very important for us, it was foretold that such final results would take place within the lifetime of just one generation, the generation that was alive in 1914. And I'll read down. Jesus said, "Truly I say to you that this generation will by no means pass away until all these things occur." Matthew chapter 24 and verse 34. Complete misappropriation of scripture. What has been the result? What he said proved true in the first century. The first fulfillment of the prophecy became a matter of historical record less than 40 years later, and in italics, that's the funny style of writing, in the lifetime of those hearing the prophecy, okay, going on. Jesus had foretold Jerusalem's utter destruction and the scattering of the Jewish nation. That is precisely what happened in the year 70 CE, where Rome's legions desolated Jerusalem. This is the kicker. We can be equally sure that of the generation alive in 1914, some will see the major fulfillment of Christ Jesus' prophecy and the destruction with which it culminates. This means that mankind is now in the most critical time of its history, when the rule of this earth and all of human affairs will pass from the hands of imperfect political rulers and come to rest with the righteous government of God's own making. Why can we be so sure of this? Again, is it simply because of a certain date, 1914, was foreseen as a point of world change? Is that all there is to guarantee that the generation, the one they don't believe in anymore, foretold in Jesus' prophecy dates from that time? So is that all it was? By no means. There is a host of other reasons for having solid conviction that this is the case. And that is, as I said, the Awake magazine of October the 8th, 1973, page 19. And the title of that article is, which I couldn't obviously read all of it, 1914, Start of Foretold Last Days, one generation, end of old order. This is the arrow going the other way. Start of God's new order. On the next page of the Awake of October the 8th, 1973, the identifying sign of our times. And the opening paragraph says, "We do not need to be in doubt as to where we are on the stream of time or where the world is heading." I mean, this is just grotesque. Absolutely grotesque, my friends. I'm going to turn over. This is still in the 1972. Remember, 1975 was when the end was going to come. Page 22 of the same article. You can survive the coming collision. And it says here, paragraph 1, the world is heading with accelerating speed towards a collision that soon will utterly wreck the present world order. Yet there will be survivors of this collision, and these will take up life in a new world order. And there's many commentators, former Jehovah's Witness commentators, that have spent decades talking about this new world order that the governing body wishes to thrust upon us. Here it says, going along, the conditions we forecast are here, affects us, threatening us, daily becoming more complex and troublesome. Surely then we should not shut our eyes to what that prophetic word shows us is just ahead. Now, Anthony Morris III, in his story of a witness that he visited with his family, would be reading publications like this. That's a direct quote from the Awake. That is from the Awake of October the 8th, 1972, and I read from pages 19, 20, and 22. Obviously, I can't read the whole paragraph. Now, let's put it very simply. The people, the witnesses that believe this, are not gullible fools that you can make a joke of, Anthony Morris III. They are genuine people that believe this. They genuinely believed that this messaging was coming from Jehovah God, which it wasn't. Never has been and never will be. Now, I'm going to give you another example, just a quick one. This is the same time period. I'm going to go to I'll just flick over to 1974. So 12 months before the end of the world was going to come. So I'm going to go from the Watchtower of January the 15th, 1974. And I am going to look, this is page 49. So it's yes. The theme is keep close in mind the presence of the day of Jehovah. And you've actually got, this is unbelievable, you've got a picture here of the UN. This is beyond belief. There's a skyline of New York. On one end, you've got a whirlwind going around, which says the day of Jehovah. And then you have a church. Talk about hate speech. You've got a church with this whirlwind of Jehovah is going to destroy. And then you have the Manhattan skyline. You've got the Chrysler building on one side here. This is an artist impression with two men in suits pointing at the whirlwind. And then you've got, which is beyond belief, you've got the UN. So anyway, it says here in paragraph 3 of the article, which is keep close in mind the presence of the day of Jehovah. It says here, this is in 74. Are you keeping close in mind that fiery day of Jehovah? It is so real to you, Is it so real to you that you can see it clearly, immediately ahead of you? So we should not be slowing down. That is, not looking at Jehovah's day as a long way off and putting it off. What did Anthony Morris III say? Have a look at this. This is unbelievable. Here is Anthony Morris completely contradicting, and I'll give it to you again for those that will look at this. January the 15th, 1974, Watchtower, paragraph 3, keep close in mind the presence of the day of Jehovah. And I'll just read that again. Are you keeping close in mind that fiery day of Jehovah? Is it so real to you that you can see it clearly, immediately ahead of you? I'll read actually all of it. Accordingly to the Kingdom Interlinear Translation of the Greek Scriptures, that expression, keeping close in mind, is speeding up. So we should not be slowing it down, that is, not looking at Jehovah's day as a long way off and putting it off. Now, that's about enough for that. I hope that this video is timely, because what is happening is that the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, their acolytes, their financial backers, and others have done far better videos than I could ever do on the financing of Watchtower. But they are in the full cut and thrust of their multimedia televangelist revamp. And the door is closing. And the amount of mature age Jehovah's Witnesses who are hanging on to the grim hope that everything that they have been promised is going to come true, and in their lifetime, it's not going to happen. I just hope that this video reaches you, and if anybody at all is interested, please share it. It's important. And this is just a little bit extra that I thought I'd put into my Exposed series. The talk by Anthony Morris III at the annual meeting was so disturbing that I just thought I would add this extra video in. Thank you very much. I'm Matt Christopher, and as I always say, sending unconditional love to every single one of you. Thank you very much.